Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I am Hanan, if you don't already know, and I am going to talk about something that is super near and dear to my heart because it was a big part of shaping who I am and how I look at life. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about not fitting in, and as you can maybe kind of see this, I am a Sudanese woman. I am a Black Muslim woman. So growing up in San Francisco, I did not look like anyone around me really. So I feel like if there is anyone that can qualify to talk about this, it's gonna be me. Now, let's talk about the beauty of not fitting in. I know that at first you might be like, hey, why would you not want to fit in? Why would you not want to be a part of a group or a society or a club or whatever it may be? But what we don't realize is that when we are trying our best to fit into whatever it is, we are oftentimes compromising just a little bit of our personality or who we are in order to be a part of this group and to fit the mold of this group. Why would you give up a piece of who you are or your personality when you were so beautifully curated by the world and your experiences and honestly what make you who you are? For me, the cost is definitely not worth fitting in because I'm confident in who I am and how I look and just being different. It's not worth it for me to begin to try to change myself in order to fit into somebody else's mold. Anyway, let's get into it. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about how I grew up and my journey in not fitting in and the beauty in it. I grew up in San Francisco and I went to a local elementary school. I remember me and my sister and maybe one other kid were the only Black kids in the entire school. The rest of the school's demographic was mostly Caucasian and Asian students. And so it was a bit of a journey in trying to fit in. I would try my best to, have all the things that other kids in school had in order to fit in, but it didn't really matter because I didn't look like any of the other students. I was constantly kind of put aside or considered a second priority when it came to friends. Obviously, this was a little hard because children are very pointed in their questions. As a child, you don't really know how to respond or to answer them, and then you start to question yourself, the questions that they asked you. And then I went on to middle school, and middle school was pretty gnarly. I definitely began to be more aware of this kind of exclusion and my inability to fit in. I remember on the first week of school, I noticed that me and my sister weren't the only Black students in the school, and that meant that I can make friends that finally look like me. There was a small group of Black students, and I, tried to make friends with them. I had no doubt in my mind that I could fit in. I was like, you know what? These are my girls. I'm finally going to have a friend group that, I feel confident in, that I am prioritized in, that I am loved in. And turns out it was the exact opposite. I didn't fit in because I started to wear hijab at that point, and so that just kind of distinguished me a little bit more in the sense that, all of those girls were not Muslim and they didn't wear hijabs, and although we had a lot of similarities in our skin color and our experiences with having this skin color, it didn't seem that they saw many similarities in us, and I felt, again, very excluded. I was considered the other because I was the Muslim girl who was different from us. It didn't matter that we had the same skin color because I had a hijab on my head, and that kind of made me an outlier. And so then my family enrolled me in a Saturday school, And the Saturday school was pretty interesting because most of the girls wore hijab as well, and I was so happy. Like, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make friends. I'm going to fit in. This is gonna be so great with other hijabi girls. And sorry, we're gonna pause really quick. If you are not Muslim, let me explain what a hijabi is. A hijabi is a woman who wears a hijab. We just call it hijabi. It's like the slang. But anyway, I ended up, going to that Sunday school, being super excited about it. And again, it was the same result as when I tried to fit in my middle school with the other black girls in my school and my grade. Apparently, because I was black, I didn't fit in. So despite all of us wearing a hijab together, none of them were black. They were all fair-skinned. And so, again, I was the other. I was the black girl of the group. And so I didn't fit into my middle school friends because I was the Muslim girl, but I didn't fit into my Muslim girlfriends because I was the black girl. And so this weird intersectionality made it, in a way, a little impossible to make a lot of friends around me. And I didn't have a lot of other Sudanese, Somali, East African, or West African friends who were black and wore hijab around me growing up. I don't think I met my first friend like that until I was much older. But yeah, so I didn't fit in anywhere. And at that point, I was so defeated. I was so upset. I was in so much pain. Like, when you are at that age, when you are in middle school, all you really kind of want is to have friends, to fit in, to have a group that you can belong to. And I didn't. Okay, we're going to have a little story time. Muslims have 2 holidays a year. It's called Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr. And basically, in one of the Eid's holidays, one of my sisters who was in her Middle Eastern / North African Sunday school group, she and her so-called friends were all supposed to go out to brunch together. And the girls were so, how do I say this, exclusionary, that they didn't want her to have brunch with them. And so what they did is each one would sneak out very slowly from the celebration and all meet up at the brunch spot without her, instead of all leaving together, so that she wouldn't notice that they left, so that they couldn't include her. Like, how mean and demoralizing is that? Like, it's pretty shitty. And honestly, it was very painful for her. It was painful for me. And it was painful for, honestly, anyone who saw it or knew that it happened. But it did happen, and that really kind of shapes you, who you are, and how you look at life and friends, like, moving forward. But anyway, so I was just at this point where I had just witnessed that, and I was having issues in not really, feeling like my friends understood me or prioritized me because I was different. And so I kind of began to have this kind of IDGF kind of attitude. And yeah, IDGF kind of attitude, where I was like, you know what was I doing wrong? It seems like I'm not doing wrong. I'm trying my best to be kind, to be caring, to be a good friend. And honestly, at this point, I don't care. I don't give a flying rat if they like me or not. And so, yeah, I mean, honestly, at that point, you really just have no choice. You have no choice but to not care anymore, because if you do care, you're just going to continue to hurt and be in pain. This reminds me of that song by Brent Faiyaz called Around Me. And the song starts out with, I don't give a damn about them, I'ma do me. And if I had to choose between me and you, I'd choose me. Please excuse my horrible singing, but those 2 lines, that is what I lived my life by, just like moving forward. I really don't give a damn about them. I'm gonna choose me. Like, this will always be the case. And so, yeah, once I kind of had that change in mindset and kind of understanding, you know what, I'll never fit in, and so I'm gonna do me, I could feel it in my soul that, like, a fire was lit. I was ready to take this world on and not really care about what anyone really thought or any kind of judgment. So I began to dress how I wanted, even if it didn't really fit in with what everyone else was wearing. I began to be, not loud, but loud in who I am, and didn't try to, kind of censor what I would say or what I would do. I began to go for things that I was afraid that I would be judged for, and honestly, it was the best thing or the best change that I could have made in my life. And so moving on to high school, I ran for student government, I ran for president, and I was reelected every single year for the 4 years that I was there, from my freshman year to my senior year. And that kind of like complete acceptance by other people just reinforced the belief that I don't really give a care about what anyone else thinks or says about me. I'm gonna do me. And that kind of confidence in myself began to kind of attract people magnetically. Like, I will tell you this, if you are extremely confident in yourself and like who you are and what you're doing, regardless of how absurd it is, people have no choice but to be confident in you and your ability. And so that is exactly what happened. And what I found was that there was a deep, deep, deep beauty in, not really caring about what people thought and not trying to fit in. And I wasn't going to be able to understand that until I didn't fit in, Like, if I had went through my entire life perfectly fitting in and not being different and being like everybody else in society, I would have never found this self-love, this self-confidence, this happiness in myself at such a young age. Like, I'm now 26. A lot of my friends and a lot of the people around me, the people I went to college with, like, are just now learning to love themselves, learning to, be happy with themselves, be confident with themselves. But I had no choice but to learn how to do that from middle school. And so in that way, I was able to kind of go through life with a certain level of like confidence and happiness that really kind of pushed aside a lot of obstacles for me because I was prepared. Like, low-key, that trauma really, really made me know how to navigate the world in a way so confidently because of that. So that is the beauty. That is the beauty in not fitting in. It forces you to be this like fortified mind when it came to judgment or dislike or any of that from society. Another thing that I find really, really interesting, and something that is also a very, amazing artifact of not giving a flying rat about, what people think and not trying to fit in, is that you often are not bound by the same criteria or the same expectations or limitations that society gives others. You are already expected by society to be the other or to be different or to be weird. So if you go and you do those things that they don't deem as like normal or a part of society or whatever, they're not too shocked because, again, they don't have expectations for you. You are the other. And so in a way, it kind of affords you this freedom and this ability to achieve and soar at highs that they never really could possibly even think about, right? Because they're thinking about, oh, if I do this, how will people see it? Or how am I going to explain this to society or to these people or to whatever it may be? But if you are already the black sheep or you're already the person who doesn't fit in, you don't have to explain it because that's what they expect of you. So honestly, the beauty in not fitting in is that kind of freedom to go ahead and absolutely conquer or do whatever you want to do, dress however you want to dress, be whoever you want to be Delulu as much as you want to be. And not only that, it like gives you this kind of, or it makes you have no choice but to have this kind of confidence in who you are, in what you're doing, and the complete essence of you. So yeah, these are just my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this helped you, or in a way kind of given you perspective about a few things. If you enjoyed this, please make sure to check out some of my other videos on the Let's Talk series. And yeah, let's find the beauty in not fitting in for you. Please leave a comment down below if you have experienced the same thing, or if you have a different opinion on this. I would really love to hear that. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. The analytics say that a lot of people are currently watching and only half are subscribing. So please make sure to subscribe, because it encourages me and it lets me know that what I'm doing is helpful for you. So yeah, thanks for hanging out.